Are you ready to learn? Because my super experienced guests are ready to share some really valuable information. Make sure and listen all the way to the end to get help and support. So let's start with the best audio experience.
How to increase your sales during recession? It's very important topic. And yesterday I discussed about growing agency with Alex Mellon, who did it during recession, and he grew his agency to 800 employees, 2 times more for an year and 6 months. And today we are going to discuss more about that, how to increase sales even more. We are going to share about revenue growth system. I'm so excited to discuss this topic with Tim Cakir. How are you?
I'm good, Anatoly. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, a big pleasure to learn more about that. I know it's important for me, for my company, for my audience. And Tim, before we start, just tell more about yourself, experience, background, and why you pay attention to this important topic, how to increase sales and revenue growth system.
Yeah, absolutely. Before I get into it, I'm going to thank you for that amazing intro. I didn't expect that intro. I saw a bunch of pictures of mine. That was really funny. Thank you so much. That was great. Well, my background, to be honest, when I was thinking about it, about 17 years ago, I started in sales. And that 17 years ago, sales today is very different. But after a few years being in sales, 17 years ago, I decided I think it was about 14 years ago, something, to get into marketing. And then I realized that I've always been into finding the right people for the right product, for the right service, even in sales, even in marketing. That led me to different countries, from US to UK, then to Spain. And the more I traveled, the more I saw businesses. I saw the same type of problems occurring across different industries and different businesses. I became a growth consultant many moons ago again now, which was about 7 years ago or something like that. And I've helped companies grow. And when I was a growth consultant, or back then, I think it was growth hacking, that was cool to say, growth hacker was the cool word. So I did live up to that cool trend. And in that, I realized that it's not about sales, it's not about marketing, it's not about operations, it's a combination of all of it. And then if we start focusing really on revenue growth, then it doesn't matter if we talk about sales, marketing, operations, product-led growth, blah, 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 right? And I think that's where I really started to zoom in, the more and more zoom in into revenue growth.
Nice. Yeah, let's talk more about that. But I want to start from the first question about uniting marketers and salespeople, because it's very important for me, for my customers, because I often see this issue when salespeople don't share data with marketers because of policy, because of something else. I don't know what kind of obstacles we can get it. But can you tell? I found the last time many marketers spend time in sales, just to learn how it works, because they can market much better after that. And salespeople can spend some time in marketing to learn how it works. Can you tell how to unite two different departments, salespeople and marketers, in one cohesive goal?
I think the example you gave is a great example. First of all, right? Put marketing people into a sales role and put salespeople into a marketing role. Give them a couple of weeks and they're going to go crazy. They're going to start understanding each other's role and they're going to start respecting each other. And when they start respecting each other, this is where you're going to start finding that collaboration. The thing with marketing and sales, they look at really different KPIs most of the time. Marketing is going to look at leads and sales is going to look at deals, right? And at the end of the day, their goal is the same, is to bring revenue for the company. So what we need to find, it's a common wording between marketing and sales, and actually not even separating possibly these departments anymore. You can make a growth department and bring these people together, because at the end of the day, what we're all doing is to bring revenue for the company. It pays our salaries, it pays the company, right? The company pays us, and so on. So I think the common language between them it's key. Understanding each other's role is another one, as we mentioned earlier. And really now in 2023, I do recommend to most of the companies to start bringing those departments together and calling them growth and starting to experiment on the sales pipeline, on the marketing pipeline before it becomes an SQL, and then they can really understand what's the journey of a customer, of a lead becoming a customer. And when they both understand that, both departments, that becomes this one team, they're really able to help each other in different ways, because a salesperson will have amazing insights for marketing, because we get tunnel vision, and vice versa, and a marketing person can help sales really understand something completely, something that sales is missing out on. So I think that getting rid of that tunnel vision would help massively.
Nice, love it. Okay, let's talk about common challenges, mistakes that companies do during the recession, and your tips how to overcome it and find a much better way.
I think so what they do is that during a recession, businesses do business as usual kind of thing. They stress, they panic, of course, but their strategy doesn't change much. They still go for this wide audience of clients most of the time. Their ICP is not very defined, or they think it's defined, but it's not the ICP, their ideal customer profile. And they're really looking at quantity over quality. At the end of the day, during a recession, you're gonna have less quantity for sure. So if you really are aiming to boost quantity, you are missing out on the quality. And what do I mean about that? You can have one client that can bring the revenue of 2 to 3 clients, but this client could also be a much more valuable client on the long term for you. So when you come out of a recession as well. So it's not panicking and going for quick fixes is what we do during a recession. And I think that's where we miss out on. I call it the core customer. The core customer is possibly not even the ICP you expected. It's, if you look at the 90 days of your sales pipeline, and if you look at the last year of your deals, and you start segmenting these customers and these potential future customers from your deal pipeline, you'll be able to understand that maybe there is a set of customers that is a much smaller segment that brings you better revenue, high revenue, and longer, right? So longer LTV, lifetime value. And if you can identify those, then go for those. Don't just be like, okay, I need many clients. Be like, I need a few of these clients, because a few of these clients are going to stay with me during the recession. And if you're a monthly recurring business, right, you're gonna be good to go. So let's not focus on quantity, but on the quality, of course. I know a lot of people says this, but I think it's because of the panic. We want to boost the sales pipeline, and we should. But again, focusing on really the core customers is going to be key. And a quick add-on there, I think also a recession is a great time for companies to start looking at partnerships, right? And looking at another, not direct competitor, but someone in the close industry, in the same kind of services, but a little bit different, and speak to each other and say, hey, how can I help your customers, and how, vice versa. You'll be very impressed. People will start passing in clients to each other and be like, hey, my client would love your extra service that we don't offer it. That's a great one, because everybody wants to make sure that they're safe during a recession. Everybody's thinking the same thing as, so go out there and speak to people about it.
Nice. I want to ask you about recession. It's interesting, that in 2018, before COVID, 2019, I often got the same message: recession is coming. Then COVID came. People still speak, oh yeah, it's time for recession. Then after a few years, it's the same. If I open Bloomberg, investing.com, many other great websites, I still see topics about recession, but nobody knows it's recession or not. So can you tell how to figure out it's recession, and we need to adapt our methods, our revenue growth system, or it's not, but we need to prepare for possible recession?
I think, the news is definitely not something to look at if you really want to understand the reality of this. COVID was a very interesting one, right, Anatoly? Because we all thought that, there was a recession coming, it was going to get really bad and so on. But what did banks do in the US? Printed new money, right? By printing new money, we were able to inject new money into the economy. into financial industries, financial sector, and this actually created a new growth. If we look at the stock market during COVID, that's when I made the best money from stocks. It was during COVID. We're all at home, but we start all going for these internet companies, for e-commerce companies, for things that can be delivered at home, for platforms, for video platforms to speak to close ones, and so on. And we actually boosted the economy by doing that. But was that a real growth? I'm not sure so. Because of the printing of the new money, it's unstable, right? We cannot keep this for long periods of time. And I think that the best way to look at if a recession is really coming or not, it's not on Bloomberg, it's not on the stock market, which the stock market can show us a little bit at the moment, to be honest. But it's looking at your local shop. Go to your local shop, look at the prices. If there's high inflation on your daily products, like your tomatoes, your onions, your food, your meat, and so on, if you've seen very high inflation and it's changing very quickly, then there is something wrong, right? Because we're boosting prices, but we're not boosting salaries that much, right? And you can see that at some point is going to be a problem for a lot of people, right? Sadly, it's always the low to mid class that is going to get affected. The high class is going to get more money, right? The richer people makes always more money on a recession. That's not always, but that's kind of what I've seen. So look at your local market, your local shops, your offline shops, your traditional places, what's happening there. And also the easiest way, if you're a business owner, is to look at your pipeline. Right? Look at your pipeline and look at your customers. Even us at Tastra, we have a lot of customers that will start stopping business because of budget restraints, right? And possibly the budget restraint is because they're taking, they're doing some risk assessment, and they're like, okay, let's lower some costs on certain services, and that will happen to us. That will happen to everybody, right? So if you look at your pipeline, you were able to close deals every 2 to 3 weeks, right? Your sales cycle was 2-3 weeks, and now it's 2-3 months. That's definitely also an example of why I think we're going towards a recession.
Life was like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
Yeah, got it, Tim. Okay, let's talk about priorities. You mentioned that companies pay attention to quantity, not quality. I completely agree with that. I couldn't agree more because I know how it's important, for example, to pay attention to big clients if you sell services, then to satisfy all clients, especially when you have limited resources. It's better to retain big clients, even to sell them 2 times more if you can provide more services because of trust, authority. And we often see this issue when companies pay attention to acquire new clients, when you need to retain your existing clients because it costs 5 times more to get new clients. And you remind me, Bill Gates, once he said, for example, if he has product A and product B, after investing X amount money to product A and product B, if product B sell 2 times more, then the next time he will invest 2x money to product B, ignoring product A. So it's like because he can earn more money. So can you tell about priorities, about this quality, how to find the right quality? And it's hard to sacrifice something to avoid. I know from my personal experience, for example, I usually even schedule my time, and I understand I can't help. I can't do anything. Of course, I need to choose priorities, what I can do. For example, for me, it's important to read books, to pay attention to my clients, to do a lot of things, but I can do only teeny percent of what I want to do. So it's the same with Elon Musk, with anyone. We have 24 hours a day. So can you tell about these priorities, how to find the right priorities and pay attention to quality, not quantity?
I mean, I think I can tackle this from a couple of angles. If you're looking from a personal productivity approach, because you said 24 hours in a day, I think that we're lucky. We're living in a very interesting time with ChatGPT and many AI assistants. I do feel that I'm becoming more and more productive every day. And I do believe that by using ChatGPT, AI, and so on, I'm possibly 5xing myself at the moment, and I would even see if you could 10x yourself. Tasks that were taking me, 4 hours take me 20 minutes now. So look at tools, don't be shy about tools. I think spending on tools that are going to be that are going to have high return on investment, which is your time, and your time is money, right? So when you think about that, and then you look at these tools and getting these tools into your tool stack, your tech stack of your product own self or your company, right, you will be able to increase, and then you'll be able to tackle your priorities a bit better. But when you look at what our priorities is, I think that one thing that we do wrong as humans, and I do this every day myself, is we tackle the small tasks or the things that are not so valuable because we know that it's going to be done quick and it's going to give us that dopamine. We're going to be like, I finished that, and I'm going to get all happy about it. And when I look at that long task, which the return on investment is going to be much higher, I procrastinate, right? I leave it to today, to tomorrow, to the next day, and then on Friday I'm like, shit, should I get this done or not? So I think that really looking at what's going to be the return on investment on which task is a way to do it. Obviously, the Eisenhower matrix, I think it's a very simple methodology, but I'm testing a new methodology myself. It's get your first 3 hours, your top priority tasks, the most important tasks, and then in the mid do your 3 hours of other tasks, and the last 3 hours do the task that is going to possibly help you prepare for the next day. So one thing I'm learning, and that I do recommend for everybody, is to really plan your next day from the night before. When we wake up, when we wake up in the morning and we're like, I have this, your brain's already you're using that brain for that, and you shouldn't. And one thing that I learned in the past few months is if I do that the night before and I plant a seed in my head, most of the time, in the unconscious mind, in the conscious mind behind my sleep, dreams or whatever you want to call it, something is happening. This is working out. My brain is working on that task already. So there are so many mornings that I wake up at 7:30 and I open up a Notion page, my note-taking platform, and I'm like, and I write a whole document that maybe I was dreading for weeks. Why? Because the night before I wrote that down, in my pen and paper before bed. And I said, this thing is about this document and that has to be done tomorrow and so on. And I wake up knowing that answer already, knowing what to put down on paper. So I think that's a great little trick that I've been doing myself and is working really well. But again, I just want to bring it back, obviously, to when you asked about priorities and quality over quantity and so on, is we have to start thinking about our revenue. So our revenue is our priority. Now it became even a higher priority for me because I have a child now. I have a 22-month-old baby girl. Before that, revenue was very important, but it was more for me to have fun, for me to go out, for me to go travel. And now when you have that much responsibility, such a new responsibility of being a father, you're like, okay, my kid's going to have to go to school in a few years. My kid's going to have the best. And then it really changes your priorities. And now I'm like, okay, my priority is to make sure that as a family, we're comfortable, but that we're also looking forward to the future expenses, like schools and so on. So that, I think it's very different for everybody. If you're a single bachelor, your priorities are different. If you're a business owner without a family, your priorities are different. But if you're a business owner with family, things get even more difficult. I think it's even more challenging. So really, look at systems, build yourself systems, because I think that system thinking is what makes us humans greater than the AI stuff. Thinking outside the box and creating a new system for ourselves is what really differentiates us. And don't be scared of things like we mentioned earlier about ChatGPT and AI. Use it so that it helps you gain time and complete even more tasks.
Concentrate on the finger or you will miss all that heavenly glory.
Yeah, I love Bruce Lee because I often tell my son, for example, when Bruce Lee told he respects a person who trains one hit 10,000 times than someone who trains 10,000 different kicks. So uh, and my son usually replies to me, it's not soccer. I play soccer. We don't need to do it. Oh man, it works everywhere. you know. So and Tim, I have the question about the system. You mentioned that we need to have the system. I agree. It's like discipline. Without discipline, it's hard. It's hard to go ahead because you have this mess. What to do? Uh, and I found, for example, if I schedule what I need to do, but sometimes I need to do something else. I need to change my mind. Can you tell about implementation execution in sales system? For example, okay, if I have my system, I'm working on that, but it's often things are going wrong in different direction. We need to adapt and to I don't know to choose quick
Mhm.
decisions, to change it. Any tips about that?
Absolutely. I think the one tip that I would have here is to get better at decision making, and to get better at decision making, you have to write down your decisions. We make so many decisions a day that, of course, we don't write them down. But when we make such decisions of giving up on a task for another task and we're reprioritizing, maybe you should have a decision journal and you should write that down. Say, okay, I'm gonna do this and give up on this because I do believe that this is what's gonna happen. I feel this way. Here's my emotions and here's why I've done that. And put a date on it. We made that decision today, and revisit that. Revisit that every 3 months, 6 months, and so on. And you will see that some of the decisions you made are great decisions. You learn from them. Some of the decisions you made are terrible decisions, and we make a lot of terrible decisions. I can guarantee that I still make a lot of terrible decisions every day. But by writing this down and being able to revisit these decisions, you're able to get better at decision making, right? And that's, I think it's the great examples of great tech founders in the world who wears one color t-shirts, right? Because they don't want to make that decision, you know so we're gonna make a lot of decisions anyway, but we don't write them down. We make them so fast. Do take a pause, take a breath, think about that decision, do that decision, write it down somewhere if you can, or just record it onto a voice note or something, put a date and explain why you made that decision. You'll get better at decision making, and if we get better at decision making, we become greater founders, we become greater business people, we become greater parents, greater fathers as well on decision making.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I remember Albert Einstein had only one costume every single day. And once I told my wife I need to do the same like Mark Zuckerberg, like Einstein, but she told me, no way, no way. I don't want to work with you when you have always the same t-shirt.
I
Sorry.
couldn't do that. I couldn't do that neither, Anatoly. I have different t-shirts. I have polos. I have t-shirts. I have collars. I do like it, and I did try, all black t-shirts or whatever. It's, this is an example. It's just that we make so many decisions. But again, why do we make these decisions? What was our state of mind when we made that decision? Is something that, especially in a recession that we were saying, we're gonna make some decisions from fear and not out of love. There is a great concept by my business partner, Love Not Fear, and I do recommend everybody to check it. It's lovenotfear.com. Every decision you make is out of love or out of fear, and mostly we make a lot of decisions out of fear. And when we make out of fear, it really doesn't work out. But when we start making decisions out of love, things change a lot. You're optimizing your happiness and you're going to a better place.
Nice, nice. Okay, let's talk about effective sales strategies. I think I see it's a trap. When companies use best practices, but it depends. It depends. You have different customers, different stories, and it's better to find your best practice than copy others. You can learn from others to find if it works for you or not, and find yours. Can you tell about how to create effective business strategy?
I think how to create an effective business strategy is, if you do research that on Google, you're gonna find 1,000 links and templates and processes and systems to do that. But I think you kind of mentioned it. It's not, one thing doesn't work for each company. Like, you have to have a very custom version. You can get inspired by other strategies and so on, but again, it's really thinking about the core customers and how do you get them. When you realize that, you might be able to suddenly change your marketing channels and so on, because you realize that you're spending money on LinkedIn, you're spending money on outreach, you're spending money on whatever, on partnerships and conferences, and then you realize that your best customers, your core customers, the long one that stays, comes from conferences. And then you're like, okay, shit, we were just doing 2 conferences a year. Can we do 8 conferences a year? Right? And then we start doing 8 conferences a year. We have much better sales pipeline. So I think that the strategy is, if you have data, is easy. If you don't have the data, it's a little bit more difficult, because you're taking a little bit more risks on experimenting. And I think experimentation is great anyways. But also, one thing that I could mention about strategies is that people are very data driven. And I think that we still have to be, instead of data driven, data informed. What do I mean by that? It's at the end of the day, there's a human that buys a service or product, and the data can show something, but emotions, gut feelings, and so on is what differentiates us and makes us even better than the competitors, right? So don't be just driven by data, be informed by it, let it help you make a decision, but don't just say, okay, data tells me this and I'm going to do this, So what I mean about coming back to the strategy, what you asked, I think it's very difficult, because I have a Notion library of hundreds of different strategies and playbooks and guides and so on to do XYZ, from sales pipelines to marketing, lead generation, and so on. And what I realized, that it really doesn't work in each place that you try it out. But if you have the concepts written down, then you'll be able to really build from there. And again, it's really going on to experimenting quickly, fast iterations, learning, failing a lot, but learn from the failures, and your strategy is going to get better and better. Like the days that, I was a master's professor at in Barcelona at a couple of business schools, and they were like, you have to do a 3 to 5 year business plan. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's another teacher that said that. And I'm like, okay, let's see, or the school says that in their curriculum. One of their things is that they have to make 3 to 5 year plan. I look at the 3 to 5 year plan. There was no COVID, right? Obviously, we didn't know that was going to happen. We didn't know the recession was going to happen. Nobody knew ChatGPT was going to be this big. So don't plan for 3 to 5 years. Make sure that you can plan kind of ballpark for a year. Make sure that your quarter, your next 3 months is solid, and you'll iterate for the next quarter. And that 1 year plan is even going to change a lot. So don't be too obsessed about saying, this is 3 to 5 years, because the world will kick you, punch you, and a lot of stuff will happen that you've never expected. And then you're going to cry, you're going to be sad, and so on. And instead, if you plan for 3 months, 6 months, and a ballpark for a year, you can iterate fast. You can be agile. You can change the routes. It's like a sailing boat, right? Even you look at the meteorology, you look at the winds, suddenly something happens and the wind changes. So if you had planned your route from here to here, you were going to go straight, from A to B, you might have to now go A, C, D, and then B. That's fine, but be prepared for changing your route, if that makes sense.
Nice. You mentioned about personalization, that salespeople can use LinkedIn, email. So can you tell about how to personalize the message today? Because, I get plus 100 messages a day on my email list. I usually lead all of them to spam inbox, the best place where they can spend time together, But because when I open these emails, I see that these companies don't care about me. They don't know me. I can feel template, So
Oh.
I usually send them to spam inbox, but I got a few personalized messages. People care about me. They don't want to oversell. Yeah, they can sell, but they usually tell what kind of value can I get by using some products. Can you tell about personalization? How to create the right personalized message today?
I think there is a big problem coming. It's the AI personalizations. We have in most of the sales enablement platforms now we have some type of AI assistant. So what's going to happen is mass personalization. The personalization about first name, company name, problem, solution as placeholders. It's not going to work anymore because everybody's doing this, and you can even go. You can even now automatically get a company's LinkedIn bio, summary, details, and personalize a little message. And this is automatic, right? You don't even need a human. So if you're doing this right now, you're cool because that's still that's still a cool personalization to use company description or Anatoly's LinkedIn bio description, right? This is still okay, but this is going to die down very quickly because the AI game, everybody is on it. So what we've done here at Task Drive is a new method that we've been testing, and it's working really, really well. This has been going on a couple of months now that we've been testing. And basically what it is, it's very simple, right? It's not going mass again, not going on the quantity, but going on the quality. So what is it? We do the 5-5-5 method. Okay, we take 5 minutes, okay, to find 5 facts about someone, right, and then take 5 minutes to write the message, right? So
Nice.
that's 10 minutes per lead, right? You can do 150 leads a week, right? If you get a 10% reply rate on that, that's 15 leads that responds. If 50% says F off, right, that still leaves you with 7, and if you get on 2 to 3 calls with them from those 7, and then you close one deal a week, according to your average revenue per account, that might be a very, very high return on investment. So do think about taking the time, as you said, to personalize, to understand Anatoly's problems.
Can you tell more about this 5 and 5? I mean, like more details. How to learn a person recipient for 5 minutes?
Yeah, I mean, I keep doing this for my team and stuff, and I open up my screen and I screen share, and I'm like, look, let's take 5 minutes. At the end of the day, you open up a LinkedIn profile, or I take Anatoly Ulitovsky, if I say it correctly, I hope,
Yeah.
right? So I'll write down that on LinkedIn. I'll read your bio very quickly. I'll find a couple of things that you mentioned there, possibly where you live and so on. Then I'll go on to a LinkedIn search, a Google search. I'll find that you were on a podcast last week, and in that podcast you talked about this. Then I'll search a little bit more, and I'll find that you have you've made the guides, you made an ebook, you have actually your own personal blog, right? So in this 5 minutes, I'm able to find 5 facts: where you live, the last webinar you were on, your personal blog and what you talk about there, and a couple more things. These 5 facts is more than enough to personalize an amazing message. So I'll take 5 minutes, I'll find the 5 facts, I'll write them down, right? And I will never start writing until I finalize those 5 facts. After I finalize those 5 facts, then I switch my mindset on, okay, I have 5 facts in front of me. How can I write a message in 5 minutes? And I do this on a timer. I actually put a timer on my phone. Actually, I have on my Stream Deck. I click 5 minutes, and then I go, I'm like, okay, I found 5 facts, or I find 4. Anyways, I give up, But usually I do get to 5, and sometimes even more. And then I have that 5 minutes, the new 5 minutes to write down that message. Again, I do repeat, it's 10 minutes a lead. And trust me, your open rates are going to be much higher, and your reply rate is going to be much higher, because I can understand what Anatoly likes, understand your problems, understand your business, understand your personal, even career, your professional and personal development and so on, that you came this far. And if I do mention that, you're like, oh shit, Tim does care about me. He researched me. And the research doesn't have to be hours. It's 5 minutes. 5 minutes to research, 5 minutes to write the message. 10 minutes. But we don't do this, Anatoly, because we're so used to this mass emails and mass sending out stuff. And then this is why now we have this mass personalization coming in. So we're still gonna need the human touch. This AI bot it's not gonna fix your sales, right? You have to care about people, because people sell to people and people buy from people. This is it, So B2B, B2C. I think I had a speech 7 years ago in Barcelona, and I spoke about H to H, human to human. Right, at the end of the day, even behind the business, the decision maker is a human. Who's going to buy it is a human. It's all about human to human. So make sure that you're building good connections, good network. You're kind to people, make people feel good about themselves. Mention their names. This is going to build a better relationship. And if you build a better relationship, even if they don't buy today because they didn't have the need, in 6 months when they have the need, they're going to be like, "Hey Tim, you remember you were doing lead research?" I'll be like, "Yeah." It's like, well, now I'm kind of ready. I'm like, "Oh, well, awesome. 6 months ago, you thought that they're not going to buy from you, but you build a really good relationship. So they'll come to you."
Nice. Yeah. It's interesting. I have no idea how to learn a person for 5 minutes, but, it's interesting. When I started to grow my LinkedIn profile, I started to comment like 10, 20 comments a day. Then for a few months, I could write 400 comments a day. And when I share with others that I write 400 comments to get followers, to get this engagement, and they reply to me, "How to do it? I don't know." Guys, if you go in step by step, you can. So if you learn a person for 5 minutes, you can increase productivity, you can get more insights because of experience, because of consistency to do something. Yeah.
Yeah,
Love it.
I'd like to add something to that if you don't mind. It's just I just pulled it out here so that I can tell a few sources for people to make this even more actionable. You have LinkedIn profile, you have company LinkedIn page, you have company websites, you have things like Built With to understand what technology they're using. You have G2 reviews, you have prior experiences of the person that you see, you have LinkedIn activity of the person, you have company insights on LinkedIn, you have a Twitter activity, you can have recent news. You can have blogs, podcasts, as we mentioned. You can have, if they're a public company, there's public investor documents. There's pricing page on their website. They have their careers page if they're hiring for someone. There's so many sources to personalize that we forget about. Make a list of your sources where you're going to find these 5 facts and just go through those very quickly. And I bet you'll find those 5 facts.
Nice. Awesome. Tim, I want to ask you about failing. You mentioned a few times about failing. And for me, I made a lot of mistakes in my life. I keep doing them, because I don't know another way how to learn. So we need to fail time to time. When I usually start from best practices, generic strategies, then I can adapt them. Can you tell about common mistakes that companies do in sales process? I think you mentioned some of them, but anyway, list some common mistakes and your tips how to find a much better way.
I think one of the biggest ones, I think it's accepting your sales cycle being that long. You can do so many little tricks to shorten that sales cycle, and then we accept it. We're like, "Oh, our sales cycle is 3 months," and then we work around that all the time. But if you do start zooming in and understanding why it's this 3 months, and you start experimenting, and a lot of the time we're scared because when you're experimenting on a sales pipeline, you might lose some deals and so on, and that failure, it's something that we fear. But if you do that again out of love by saying, "Hey, I'm going to experiment because at the end I'm gonna shorten the sales cycle," and you've shortened your sales cycle by a couple of weeks or a month, you're winning. And it might take you 15 fails, 15 mistakes to get there, and then the 16 is gonna fix all those 15. But we as humans, I think we give up very fast, because we go back to our comfort zone. And if our comfort zone is the system that we had written in a document 2 years ago, right, we keep that document and we keep that process and that system for the next 2 years. But if you start questioning every process, every system, every 3 months, 6 months, you'll realize that you've learned things that you could actually optimize that process and that system. So when you go back to what you said, to failures, do fail, but fail fast, and learn from them, and don't make failures affect you. Don't make them make you down and sad. Actually make them like, oh shit, I tried this, that doesn't work. Great, we know that doesn't work now. So that's one out of the 15 experiment you're going to try. You have 14 more to try, and your probability is getting higher of winning. So do that fast. It's all about that rapid iteration.
Nice. And Tim, I have the final question about your experience. I found that I usually get much better results with clients who understand SEO. If they don't, I usually tell them, take my course. It costs $10-20. You can learn from great experts, including Lily Ray, Mike Phillips, many others, Chelsea Alves. But I need to cooperate with people who understand the basic. If they don't, it's really hard to get any result. It's the same like, I don't know, for example, if someone wanna lose weight, you need to understand why you need to eat healthy food, to train hard, to drink water, because the best coach can't help you. For example, if you started today from scratch without any experience, knowledge, skills, what will you do today to learn more about sales?
Oh wow! I would just go and do it. I would just go knock on a door. I would call someone. I will look on my right in a restaurant, and I'll see someone there, and I'll be like, I want to sell you my old phone. I'm like, and I'll be like, hey, how's your phone? Oh yeah, your phone is even older than mine. Well, I'm selling mine, and they'll tell you, F off, I'm having dinner, and stuff like that. Well, you've got your first rejection. That's gonna build you to be a better salesperson right away. So it's just, I think it's practice, isn't it? Even for SEO, you don't know that you're going to rank until you can plan it, but you have to go and do the work. You have to do the article, you have to do the optimization, you have to do whatever, So if we start just thinking about how we're going to get better, we usually stay where we are. But if we just go and do the craziest stuff that we ever wanted to do about sales or SEO and stuff, suddenly we find something that is working that nobody has done. And then you become a great salesperson, or you become a great SEO consultant, and so on. So, I think that the best day to start was yesterday. The next best day is now. So take that approach and go for it. Don't say, oh yeah, I'll start this tomorrow, because we know that tomorrow you're gonna say the same thing. You're gonna say, I'll start this tomorrow again. So just go and do it. I think that. How would I be a better salesperson? Well, I'm not sure, because I just go and do it, and I make mistakes. I have people that hate me sometimes. Hopefully not. That's a strong word, because I tried to sell something to them, but a bunch of people became friends. I sold them something, or I didn't sell them something, but 3 years later they were like, "Oh, Tim, you're at that company. That's very cool. I'd love your service." That's somebody 3 years ago I tried to sell something else to. I tried to sell them a growth consultancy package as a consultant, and 3 years later they come to my company and they're like, "Oh man, your sales stuff is great. Can I buy some leads, or can I buy your service for lead research?" I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely." So you're creating that inbound from an outbound of 3 years ago by just building that relationship.
Nice. Awesome. Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that, because I know practice is more important than learning. And yeah, we need to learn, but it's like, I don't know, if I read 100 books how to play soccer, I can't compete with Leo Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo, even mediocre players, because it's practice. These guys prefer to hit the ball 1,000 times a day than to learn how to play soccer. We need to learn, but only some percent of time, like 20% of time, by reading books, listening audio podcasts. But in most time, we need to practice, to test, experiment.
100%. I was going to joke that, because I was going to say you can compete against Cristiano Ronaldo, because I'm a Messi fan, right? And then the World Cup, where we saw who's the better player. So, but yeah, it's all about practice. And I think the example of Cristiano Ronaldo, Lionel Messi, I think is about being humble. as well.
Mhm.
Messi's humble. Cristiano Ronaldo, I'm sorry, is not humble. So one is practicing every day and being humble, and the other one is possibly practicing every day, but it also being a bit of a show off, right? Modeling and this and that. And the other one is actually doing the work more intense. I was a neighbor of Lionel Messi in Barcelona, and we could see from
Mhm.
outside a friend's house was higher up, and we could see to his house. He had a big screen, and all day there was football on it. He didn't do
Nice.
parties. He didn't do that. He just watched football, went to practice football. That was his thing, And then you do see the results,
Yeah.
So maybe don't be
Nice.
that obsessed, obviously. But if your work is your passion, then go for it. Just practice,
Yeah.
practice, practice, practice.
By the way, 70% of people hate their jobs because it's not passion, it's not love, and that's why they come back home to overwatch TV 6 hours a day. But I can back, as you mentioned in the beginning of our podcast. Before the podcast, you told me that you love Monday. I think if you
Yeah.
hate Monday, change your job.
Yeah. If you hate Mondays, if you hate Mondays, check out Spotify's Discover Weekly. I think if you're into music, that's going to help you anyways, right? So there are great stuff that can make you love Mondays. To be honest, I didn't love Mondays back in the day, but now I do like it because I get into my office, and usually Monday mornings, no meetings, no calls. I put those new 30 songs that Spotify gives me for my Discover Weekly, and I get my best tasks done. You start your week
Nice.
strong. You feel so much better on a Wednesday, and when you come on a Wednesday and you're recording with Anatoly, you're like, oh, this is a good week.
Nice. Tim, it's a big pleasure to get on my show, to
Absolutely.
learn from you. Tell our audience the best way how to keep learning from you, how to follow you, how to reach out
Yeah.
to you.
Yeah. I think the simplest is to go on LinkedIn and write Tim Cakir, Tim Cakir. On LinkedIn, I post very regular. I have a growth letter that you can subscribe to. It's on my featured section on my LinkedIn. And then, we're doing really cool stuff at Task Drive. At taskdrive.com, we're really innovating revenue growth. We're building revenue growth systems and so on. So reach out to me if you need anything on that. If you want to talk to me, you have any questions, I'm more than happy to personally answer as well. I think that I've always believed in helping anybody I can. So if you do need anything, just reach out on LinkedIn.
Nice, guys. You can find the link in the description below. Listen us on Apple, Google, Spotify. Thanks again for your time. I love it. So valuable, guys. You need to follow Tim because you can see a lot of value. Subscribe to his newsletter because you can get a lot more new trends, information about sales. Okay, guys. Love you. See you.
Anatoly, thank you.